Chapter 20. What do the 12 zodiac signs represent? And what lies at the end of the corridor? Could it be the underworld? In the dimly lit corridor that seemed to have no end. The group trembled as they moved forward. After the high-intensity games they had previously endured, everyone felt physically and mentally exhausted. At this moment, the sudden relaxation caused the lingering presence of death around them to fade. Tija turned his head unintentionally and saw Lin Tin standing beside him. She had her hand over her mouth and nose. Doesn't that make it uncomfortable for you? Tija mimicked Lin Tin's action and placed his hand over his own mouth and nose. Even though the smell here is awful, covering your nose like that might make it hard to breathe. Sorry? Lin Tin was slightly taken aback, then smiled. I don't feel any difficulty breathing, but not covering my nose just feels strange. As if what? As if I'm not wearing clothes. Lin Tin smiled shyly, then removed her hand from her face. Her nose was sharp, her lips bright red. There was no real need to cover them. Tija didn't quite understand what she meant by, like not wearing clothes. Lin Tin smiled again, still feeling a bit uneasy. So she covered her nose and mouth once more. Feels a bit embarrassing. Don't you all feel awkward showing your faces like this? Lin Tin asked Tija, just exposing your nose and mouth. Why would that feel awkward? Tija found it odd. It's the mask, Lin Tin replied, equally confused. As she looked at Tija like he was an alien. How can you just walk around without wearing a mask? Before Tija could respond, a strange light suddenly appeared in the distance. Drawn to the night, everyone looked ahead. It was the exit. A light resembling the glow of the setting sun was shining from the exit. We're getting out, Ji Jin shouted excitedly. You can see the light of the sunset. This exclamation gave everyone a burst of energy. Dr. Shi Jiao, supporting Han Wei Aimo, hurriedly followed the others, quickening their pace. Sons, Tija thought for a moment and said to the group. We woke up at 12 o'clock, and after more than an hour of playing these games, it should be around to now. Whether it's 2 or 2 we shouldn't be seeing a sunset. I think you're overthinking it. Officer Li shook his head. The room's clock might not be accurate. The real time could be evening right now. Tijan nodded slightly. He knew Officer Li had a point. His sense of time was based entirely on the room's clock, and was no guarantee that it was correct. As they walked a few more steps forward, the group saw a shadow near the exit. As they got closer, the shadow slowly took on a human shape, like the others they had encountered. This figure also wore an animal mask, but this mask made everyone feel sick to their stomachs. Unlike the other animal masks, this one wasn't crafted from a single animal's head, but was stitched together from various organs using woolen thread. Its mouth resembled a crocodile's, its nose like a bull's, with fish scales on its cheeks and snakes in around the neck. On top of that, it was adorned with a lion's mane and a stag's antlers. This creature looked like, greetings, I am Human Dragon. The stitched-up monstrosity spoke slowly. Everyone survived? How rare. A dragon. The group instinctively halted, their nerves tightening. It wasn't the dragon itself that frightened them, but rather how familiar this introduction was. Every time someone introduced themselves like this, it meant that a terrifying game was about to follow. Don't be alarmed. Human Dragon waved his hand. Only then did the group notice that his hand was covered in an eagle claw glove. All the animal parts on his body were rotting and swollen, emitting a foul odor. Yet he acted as if nothing was wrong and continued speaking to himself. I'm not here to give you a new test, just some advice. The group remained silent, sticking close together, watching the human dragon with wary eyes. 10 days. You have 10 days to change everything, Human Dragon said slowly. Within you fail to gather 600 Dao. The world you are in will be obliterated. Everything you see will be buried along with it. In that one sentence, there was so much they couldn't comprehend. 600 Dao. Tija frowned. What do you mean by Dao? And what do you mean by saying the world we're in will be destroyed? Good question. Very good. Human Dragon nodded. Questions mean you're still thinking clearly. As for Dao, well, Human Dragon reached into his suit pocket, rummaged for a while, and then pulled out four golden orbs. The orbs were white on the outside and golden on the inside, glowing softly. They looked quite peculiar. This is Dao, Human Dragon explained. If you gather 600 of these, you'll be saved. Tijia thought for a moment and reached out to take one of the orbs. It didn't feel hard, but rather elastic. Take them. They're rightfully yours. Human Dragon smiled. After a brief hesitation, Tijia accepted the 4 Dao. You've passed for trials. The liar, springing forth, as from above. And yes or no. These are your rewards, your tokens. No one had expected that the prize they risked their lives for multiple times would be these unremarkable little spheres. They were at a loss for words. Dao, Tijia muttered, frowning in frustration. So you're saying if we don't find 600 of these little balls, this place will be destroyed? That's right. And if this place is destroyed, you won't be able to leave. Human Dragon nodded. The scales on his face and the lion's mane on his mask swayed with his movement, making him look even more grotesque. It seems like you have plenty of these little orbs. Can't you gather 600 yourself? Officer Lee decisively asked. You're clearly stronger than us. Why not go collect them on your own? Me? Human Dragon chuckled. We are all guilty, and guilty people can't obtain Dao. Only those like you, the chosen ones, can collect Dao and eventually become gods. This is ridiculous. Zhang Xihan's interrupted, her arms crossed, a hint of anger in her voice. Do you even know what you're saying?